American Clipper ship is defined by its 3 masts and full rigging, a beautiful design that favors speed over capacity. From the 1840s, these ships transported tea from Canton in China to New York and later, Hong Kong. Tea was an ideal commodity for the Clipper due to its light weight and high value. The owners of these ships, therefore, became some of the United States' wealthiest men. Clipper ships, Macquarie, Color Litho, Jack Sperling, 1870 to 1933, after/private collection/copyright Look and Learn/Bridgman Images. The first submarines. The earliest prototype for a submarine was created in 1578, and there have since been plenty of fascinating attempts at designing a successful underwater vessel. In 1620, Dutch polymath Cornelius Drebbel invented a modified rowboat that was coated in greased leather for King James I. Much to the astonishment of the spectators, there were demonstrations of its capabilities in the River Thames. Subsequently, in 1775, during the American Revolution, Yale graduate David Bushnell invented a manually operated wooden one-man submarine called the Turtle. Several missions were launched in which the colonist operator tried and failed to attach a time bomb to the hull of an enemy ship. Submarine, Turtle, 1776 World's first combat submarine, the Turtle, built by David Bushnell. Used on September 6, 1776, in an unsuccessful attempt to attach a bomb to the hull of HMS Eagle. Contemporary woodcut/Granger/Bridgman Images. In 1800, American inventor Robert Fulton designed an all-metal craft that is often described as the first modern submarine. The Nautilus housed several innovative features, but neither the French nor the English navies were interested. Several subsequent different submarines were designed during the 19th century, but it wasn't until 1898 that the U.S. Navy formally commissioned their first submarine. The USS Holland had a single torpedo tube and a dynamite gun, a form of pneumatic cannon. The submarine, powered by single 160 horsepower electric motor, never actually engaged in combat but served as a useful training vessel. How did the Vikings, a people with no centralized government, no coinage, and small settlements, fiercely conquer much of England, Ireland, and Scotland, whilst taking charge of European trade routes and basing posts as far as North America? The Viking longship. It was indeed a force to be reckoned with. The Viking ships depended on the outer shell of wood instead of internal beams, which made them light, versatile, and very fast, without losing much strength. This meant that the ships also required less resources to build, which was an important factor when bearing in mind the decentralized nature of Viking culture. Prior to the fall of Rome in the 5th century AD, the Vikings saw no need for expensive sails. As trade opportunities arose, however, with the enemy from the south weakened, the Vikings began to prosper, and they added sails to their already formidable ships in around 800 AD. The Viking longship as we know it today was born. It had a shallow draft, meaning that very little of the hull was underwater, making it fast and very dangerous, especially in shallow waters. Being able to carry as many as 100 Viking soldiers, great fleets of longships could land on open beaches or penetrate deep into river systems. The inhospitable Scandinavian terrain forced the Vikings to travel on the waters, which in turn led to them producing one of history's most fearsome ships. Unsurprisingly, William the Conqueror's 1066 flagship Mora, the largest and fastest of his 700-ship-strong invasion fleet, was of the Scandinavian longship design. The Chinese junk. The Chinese junk is first believed to have appeared during the Han Dynasty, 206 to 220 AD. It is characterized by its narrow shape and distinctive, battened, sail, which incorporated bamboo spines to ensure both stability and durability. If the sail were to rip, only one section would be compromised thanks to the bamboo. Over time, the Chinese added more masts and enlarged the ship. The junks of the Song Dynasty, 950-1276, had 4 masts, but it was in the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, when these ships evolved into spectacular 9-masted treasure ships. The legendary seafaring explorer, mariner, and diplomat, Admiral Zheng He, 1371 to 1433, led a fleet of the world's largest ships on 7 exploratory voyages around the Indian Ocean. The objective of these voyages, so it is thought, was to obtain recognition and gifts from foreign rulers. The Admiral's 9-masted flagship is said to have measured about 400 feet long. For reference, it would have dwarfed Christopher Columbus' Santa Maria, which measured 85 feet. Chengi's fleet included 62 of these colossal vessels, in addition to 200 varying smaller vessels. Understandably, historians were skeptical about the size of these ships until 1962, when workers on the Yangtze River found a buried wooden timber next to a huge rudder, the size of which correctly corresponded with a ship that would have been 540 to 600 feet in length. The history of sea vessels. Throughout history, sea vessels have played a major role in the development of the human race. Today, maritime transportation is the backbone of global trade and the global economy, but for a long time has it been a fulcrum around which nations have thrived. From ancient Egyptian papyrus boats to the mammoth ships of today, this is a brief history of sea vessels. Ancient reed boats. The earliest known remnants of a seafaring vessel ever recorded were discovered on an archaeological site called H3 in Kuwait. They are thought to be roughly 7,000 years old. The boat was constructed using reeds, which were also utilized by the ancient Egyptians, whose papyrus skiffs are a better-known example of mankind's earliest seafaring vessels. The Egyptians bound the reeds tightly together and pulled the skiff along using oars. This was the prime method of transport via the Nile until around 3000 BC, when papyrus was replaced by wooden planks, and the oars were replaced by a sail. All manners of things were transported by these boats, including building blocks, coffins, and food. Miraculously, a number of these wooden ships still survive today. Perhaps the most significant is the Khufu ship, which was buried alongside the Great Pyramid of Pharaoh Khufu, more commonly known as the Great Pyramid of Giza, around 4,600 years ago. It is a solar bark, or solar boat, that may have been part of the pharaoh's fleet during his lifetime. Egyptologists have also speculated that the ship could have been designed especially to be buried next to Khufu's grave to carry him through the skies into the afterlife. The ship, discovered in 1954, was transported to the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo in August 2021 to ensure its preservation. He Trireme. The ancient Mediterranean was dominated by a formidable galley called the trireme. Translating literally to three-rower, the trireme was used by the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Romans, and was so called because of its 3 rows of oarsmen who pulled to the beat of a drum. It is thought that the trireme could reach speeds of over 7 knots, making it the fastest and deadliest ship of the ancient world. It was fronted with a bronze ram that could penetrate the hull of an enemy ship. Athens' maritime dominance is credited to the civilization's unmatched fleet of triremes. Most scholars credit the Phoenicians with inventing the trireme, and according to the writings of Thucydides, the Corinthians were the first on the Greek mainland to adopt the trireme c. 700 BC. As well as several other wars, the ship played a significant role in the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, between the Delian League, led by the Athenians, and the Peloponnesian League, led by the Spartans.